Yeah, this dude could have been an absolutely abysmal bootlicking groiper, but no matter who you are, getting an absolutely horrific back injury and being saddled with chronic pain and medical debt will make anyone develop class consciousness. Even if he doesn't have class consciousness, which I don't think he has, you don't have to be a fucking card-carrying commie or anything like that. You don't have to be a socialist. You don't even have to have any sort of class consciousness whatsoever. You still do recognize that, like, healthcare, for-profit healthcare, even if you don't have the proper terms to communicate this anger and resentment, you still recognize who's fucking you over in that situation because it's so deeply personal. Holy, that is so crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, obviously everyone is saying free Luigi Mangione, and we're going to be talking about that. God, you guys are already fucking blasting me with like all the insane shit that this dude has said, including demanding that Japan ban pocket pussies. That's crazy. This guy had a lot of weird opinions. All right. Maybe not so based. I know who the guy is. Check out his Goodreads. He read JD Vance. I know. There are some discoveries coming out of the shooter, and now that he has been apprehended, it seems. He's also incredibly shredded, Luigi Mangione. Let me just say, I took a sigh of relief when I found out that this dude, definitely not a HasanAbi head. Okay, definitely not. So that's good. Okay, that's good. We're good. Safe. All right. I do find it very, I mean, I don't find it odd, and I do find it a little bit concerning that political violence is almost so universally done by the right that, like, even when you got a motherfucker that kills a CEO, he has a lot of right-wing associations. Like, it's crazy. What is going on? Even labor militancy is only being done in this country in the future by right-wingers, I think. Okay, this dude has an insane background, but before we get started, his name is Luigi Mangione. That's right. The person of interest that is under arrest for the United Healthcare CEO shooting is Luigi Mangione. Okay, he is out of his mind, yacked to the goddamn gills, incredibly Italian, and I mean, 10% body fat percentage, like it's pretty solid, looking fit, looking tight. Okay, great eyebrows, very powerful. I think that's literally what got him caught. Like, high key, it seems like the eyebrows is what, those goddamn Italian caterpillars right there is probably what got him caught, because honestly, people that have been in a 10-mile radius of this motherfucker were like, oh, dude, that's the eyebrow guy. So the moment that they saw those eyebrows in that taxi cab, people were like, everyone in Pennsylvania was alerted to this presence. Okay? Yeah, this motherfucker should have shaved his eyebrows, and I guess that would have been hard, but that would have been hard for him to stay undercover with the shaved eyebrows. What are his right-wing associations? I didn't see anything wrong with what he's posted. He's like a Peter Thiel fan. He doesn't like Jordan Peterson from what I've seen, and we'll dive further into it. But like, I think he's like, he likes Lex Friedman. He's like a right-wing podcast bro, and kind of. What is this? This is the greatest day of my life. Wait, what? That's Luigi Mangione. This person just posted. Wait, did he attend their wedding or something? He has Mein Kampf on his Goodreads. I don't know about the Goodreads stuff, but we'll see. So funny that half the CEO killer's timeline is just retweeting this guy. Oh yeah, it's really interesting. People are trying to figure out why he was at the most recent Pokemon Worlds in Hawaii, since it says he lived there. He follows AOC and Ezra Klein, but he also follows, like, I'm gonna get into it. He follows a lot of like fucking right-wing CEOs too. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting. Oh shit, the shelf is private now. They privatized it. No! Chat, log everything and send it to me, all right? What is this? No, one of my fishies got sucked into the filter. This guy can't catch a fucking break. I do think that Paul Scalas being a Lindy man most likely is the reason why this dude did the damn thing, by the way. What is this? Holy shit, he follows... The last rated book I saw was the Lorax. You are now turning on him because he's Italian? Listen, dude. Listen. He is exactly the type of motherfucker that like loves Elon but hates healthcare CEOs. Okay? I need you to understand. Like, it is kind of hilarious that it's just like we got God, there's so much to talk about. We'll do his reading list, we'll do his Goodreads. Okay, we'll do his Goodreads that's now privated. He obviously reviewed the fucking Unabomber book, classic. Okay, he's got a good bit on Kurt Vonnegut, Slaughterhouse-5. So that's like he's all over the place politically. Okay, which is so American, and I need you to understand this. It is the most American to be politically all over the fucking map. No one has a well thought out, consistent, clear-eyed, ideological perspective. But what's even more interesting for me, okay, is the fact that this guy who read Atlas Shrugged who has Atlas Shrugged on his fucking must-read, like potentially want to read books, and he's a Lindy man, and is literally a Lindy man, is all over the map politically and is reposting Peter Thiel. When I first saw this motherfucker's account, I was like, there is no goddamn way. He's an Andrew Huberman fan. He's retweeting Peter Thiel posts, talking about AI. He follows Sam Altman. Okay. When I logged it, as soon as the name came out, he had like 300 followers or something. And since then, he has gone up, by thousands, 74,000 followers. And I find it very odd, but also very American. Here he is, Lex Friedman. It's amazing how caffeine really is the only drug that has achieved this level of social acceptance. He likes reading books. He's a tech guy. Like these are some of the things that we have figured out. American politics is so schizophrenic as always. Okay, always. Never forget that. It's just like it's a very common thing that happens all the time. You will never be able to immediately clock and identify a person's political associations, especially one that even takes like direct action. Turns out a mutual friend of mine. Oh, this is from the Prospect. Luke Goldstein says, turns out a mutual friend of mine went to high school with Mangione and was on the wrestling team with him. Says he was a class valedictorian. He had back surgery a few months ago and went missing. No one had heard from him. Oh my God. Well, now we know what the motive is, it seems. He's an incel though? No, I've seen him with like a lot of ladies, dude. I don't think he was an incel. I don't know. I mean, he might have been. We'll see. I'll dive into his background a little bit more because like looking at the podcast consumption that he has. Oh, that's his sister. Okay. Well, looking at the podcast consumption, I could see him being like, it seems like he was like incel adjacent on a lot of the fucking podcasts that he was consuming. But like, I don't know if I don't think this guy's an incel. I think maybe like a men's right activist lightly, but I don't think he's an incel at all. But once again, do not try to understand the mind of someone who is a political operative in the United States of America. Avid reader of 295 books listed on Goodreads. Academically, he holds a master's and bachelor's degree in computer science from the University of Pennsylvania. Additionally, he gained recognition as a valedictorian at Gilman School in Baltimore, showcasing his academic excellence. His work includes contributions to machine learning and robotics, as evidenced by projects on GitHub. It makes sense. He was like a fucking stem cell. He was like a jacked stem cell. So yeah, it makes sense why he would find himself captivated by, when you have no humanities, when you have no formal humanities education, you find yourself in the throes of radicalization by the likes of fucking Andrew Huberman and shit, and all of a sudden become like kind of stem cell adjacent. Yeah, here is a very famous tweet that we have to point to. He literally quote retweeted Elon Musk's favorite neo-Nazi here. Immigration won't solve anything. It's maybe a short-term solution at best. Japan will be fine as long as it stays Japanese. This guy says, I am yes, you are no. He is a famous neo-Nazi online. Elon Musk's favorite neo-Nazi, as a matter of fact. He quote retweets him and says, modern Japanese urban environment is an evolutionary mismatch for the human animal. The solution to failing birth rates isn't immigration, it's cultural. Encourage natural human interaction, sex, physical fitness, and spirituality. Ban Tenga fleshlights and Japan real whole custom porn star pocket pussies being sold in Don Quixote grocery stores. Yeah, that's gonna fix the problem, man. You're definitely right. Yeah, it's because the Japanese are too vociferously they're ravaging these sex toys that you can purchase at Don Quixote. And you know he's a fucking weeb too, because he knows what Don Quixote is. If you know what Don Quixote is, you're a goddamn weeb. You're a fucking otaku. Okay? Replace conveyor belt sushi restaurants vending machine ordering with actual human interaction with a waiter. Classic fucking dumbass otaku that doesn't even understand Japanese culture, especially because human interaction is so there's so much need for human interaction that like a big part of Japanese nightlife industry revolves around people that basically fucking give that human interaction to you while you're engaging in social drinking, even if you are alone. Okay? So it's not the fact that there's too many conveyor belt sushi and restaurant vending machines. Dumbass. Replace 24/7 esports cafes with young males. Earn false fitness signals via Tekken fighting and Overwatch shooting games with athletics in school. Heavily stigmatized maid cafes where lonely salarymen pay young girls to dress and anime characters to perform anime dances for them. Revitalize traditional Japanese culture, Shintoism, Okinawan karate, onsen, etc. Bro, you got so heated that he doesn't understand Japan. That's one of your weebest moments. Yeah, I love talking about the Japanese birth rates, okay, without addressing Japanese work culture, capitalism, and also the tendency of developed nations across the board to run into this trap regardless, especially if they don't engage in any sort of migration. Like, this is what happens when you are a fucking stem cell with no understanding, no political acumen whatsoever. But I digress. This is important to understand and acknowledge that the issue of healthcare is a unifying principle, is a unifying problem. This is why it is not surprising that this person is not like a fucking card-carrying commie leftist, okay? 2 reasons for why it's not shocking to me that he is not a card-carrying leftist or whatever, but instead is this like indecipherable kind of right-wing guy, okay? 1, he's a stem cell, okay? No understanding of humanities, probably assumes that humanities are bad, okay? 2, the right dominates the space for political violence. They just dominate it. They own it. They dominate it. The right is so used to doing political violence that when you look at 2 of the Trump attempted assassins, Ryan Ruth, my NATO hero, okay, the #1 NATO defender, the 1 NATO voter, Ryan Ruth, and the other guy whose name I fucking forgot, the one that shot at Trump and you know, popped him in the ear. 1 was a registered Republican. The other one had voted for Donald Trump. Ryan Ruth had literally voted for Donald Trump. So, like, obviously, Thomas Matthew Crooks. Yeah, that's his name. So, I feel as though the right is so used to the political violence and owning that space that they just kind of do violence to themselves. Can tell you that not a single person who went to Gilman is a leftist? I mean, it doesn't have to be. He doesn't have to be a leftist at all. It doesn't matter. This reaffirms my position. This is my point. My point is, this is not a left-right issue, okay? This is definitely a class issue, and it certainly impacts even rich people from rich families. I've talked about this before. When I was broke and I worked at the Young Turks, I had healthcare. I had healthcare that was given to me by the company that I was paying for, right? And the patchwork solution to losing my job and to moving on to full-time streaming as a career, the patchwork solution in that process was for me to be able to retain my health care but pay for the entire premiums under what is known as COBRA. Okay, that is the Democratic Party's patchwork solution to the healthcare problem, is that, oh, at a time of financial uncertainty, we are giving you the opportunity to pay for the entirety of the premium that your work was paying for. So all of a sudden, I was paying like $600 fucking dollars a month when I didn't make that much money. It's insane. But another thing that I also found out in this process, once my COBRA expired and I had to get my own healthcare personally, self-employed healthcare, was the reality that while my financial situation had dramatically improved, okay, at that point when I was looking for healthcare, even if you have money in this country, healthcare is still fucked. You can't even buy like the appropriate full tilt coverage as a person, as an individual, because the way that this process works is like you have to start a corporation and you have to literally get corporate healthcare. The premium healthcare is not given to you as a singular individual. It's crazy. So even if you have the money to pay for healthcare, they still do not give you the healthcare, at least in the state of California. So obviously, regardless of the fact that this kid probably comes from a relatively well-off family, he went to a private school in Baltimore, he still got fucked over. He still got fucked over by American healthcare. Okay? Yeah, his brother is seemingly a Republican politician in Maryland as well. Look, there's a very sad story here. Turns out a mutual of mine that went to high school with Mangione and was on the wrestling team with him says he was class valedictorian. Hey, are you okay? Nobody's heard from you in months, and apparently your family's looking for you. Thinking of you in prayers every day in your name. Know you are missed and loved. Hey, man, I need you to call me. I don't know if you are okay or just in a super isolated place and have no service, but I haven't heard from you in months. You made commitments to me on my wedding. Made commitments to me for my wedding, and if you can't honor them, I need to know so I can plan accordingly. Like I think he had to get back surgery and just like fell off the map. His Twitter account, I think this might have been his cousin or something, but his Twitter account literally has, his Twitter header literally has spinal surgery x-rays. Luigi Mangione's Twitter header has this x-rayed as Goodreads has these books. He must have gone through some kind of personal hell with insurance. Crooked, outwitting the back pain industry and getting on the road to recovery. Back Mechanic by Dr. Stuart McGill. He gave it a 2 stars. Crooked, outwitting the back pain industry and getting on the road to recovery. He didn't like that book. I guess he didn't like the book because it said it didn't tell him at any point that the way to outwit the healthcare industry is by taking matters into your own hands. That's why he gave it 2 stars. Where he was like, yeah, no, I am not. He was not a fan of the book. All jokes aside, this is a real moment of radicalization for a lot of Americans. Yeah. Mohammed says, Jim bro who's mad at insurance for how they're covering his injuries. I get it. Yeah, this is if you guys recall, when I first went back on my fitness journey, once the pandemic lockdown restrictions were lifted and I went back to working out, I had a shit ton of injuries because I had not moved my body enough. I was, not eating enough protein, multitude of different factors at play here. But I recall going to the doctor for a slip disc, and I was very frustrated, not with the healthcare coverage in that situation, because like I am fortunate enough to be able to afford such things without even thinking about it at this point. But if you remember, I went to the doctor, and one of the things that was incredibly fucking frustrating, and now I don't have this back pain anymore, thank God. But one of the things that was incredibly frustrating was like the tendency of a lot of medical staff to, instead of subscribing physical therapy, they were just trying to medicate me. And like I am obviously pro modern medicine, as you guys know. This is something that I am not like an RFK Jr. type of person. But one thing, oh, did I say subscribing? Sorry, prescribing. But you should subscribe. But one thing that I personally experienced that I found to be very frustrating is that like prescribing pain relief medication when you have a injury is not addressing the like major cause of that dysfunction. Okay? And this is something that I talked about at that point as well. This isn't to say that like all pain relief is bad, and I'm not saying that at all. I think there's a time and place for that, for sure. There's chronic pain. I totally understand that. But I think the tendency, even, and this is not even like insurance related, even though insurance factors into this equation a little bit, but the tendency to overprescribe pain relief medication rather than try to address the problem and take this more complicated approach that requires you to identify where the muscular imbalance is and identify why you have injured yourself and try to fix it. Like, that is a long and convoluted process. So I think that's part of the reason why people are way more, you know, people just immediately go, yeah, just take this pain medication and just like rest it and it's fine. This is frustrating. Every aspect of medicine in this country still at a certain point revolves around the profit motive. Okay? It is something that does not make sense. Even if you've taken an Econ 101 course, you understand that medicine, pharmaceuticals, and any sort of like medicine in general, any sort of medical help in general, has inelastic demand. If you don't get it, you die. So you have to get it, right? So the very fact that we still use this as an opportunity to fucking generate profits is insane to me. And I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people have distaste and distrust for healthcare in this country. And that's why you got the likes of fucking RFK Jr. and so many like anti-vaccine people in America that have this kind of attitude, because they see the issue with for-profit healthcare. They recognize the issue with for-profit pharmaceuticals, and it breaks their fucking brains. And instead of recognizing that the solution to this problem is by taking the profit motive out of this, equation, a lot of people just end up, making up their own minds about this shit and despising healthcare and despising medicine even. It's a much larger problem. But I think the important part of this, the important hinge point here to address is that profit is slammed into this sector, in every orifice of the sector that should not have anything to do with profit at all. And every single person has a story like the one I just told you. Every single person, because at a certain point you needed healthcare, okay? Unless you're like one of the most fortunate people on the planet, you still needed healthcare at a certain point. And when you got it, you were shocked at the bill. When you got it, you were shocked at the process where this healthcare that you paid for or that your parents paid for fucked you over and they denied your claims. We live in a country where there is a concept of medical bankruptcy. Europeans cannot comprehend that. They're like, what do you mean medical bankruptcy? That is an insane process. And yet it is a very real process. It's a pretty shitty position overall. What is this? What is my attorney doing, dog? What is my attorney posting? Let's not do infighting, okay? At a moment of division, I don't like that. I think, in these unifying times, I see no reason to pit fellow gym bros against one another. Shaking my head. You're mad he's hotter than you? I'm not mad about that at all. But he is hotter than me. That's true. My health insurance story, I specifically went into the Anthem website to find an in-network provider for an annual checkup. I go to the place. They inform me that at some point between making the appointment and the actual appointment date, their in-network negotiations fell through and they're no longer in-network. Yet I was never notified and had to pay out of pocket for that visit. I got electrocuted at work. Company denied my claim. Still injured. Couldn't work. I lose my insurance because I'm not working, so my job starts offering me insurance. Lol, I got my health insurance taken because I got injured. Cobra was like $660 a month and to be paid with no income amount. Exactly. This is unsustainable. And anyone that tries to tell you that this is like a perfectly valid, perfectly sustainable system is insane. Also, what else? You want to know what else is insane? This motherfucker was deficit hawking at the age of 12. Luigi Mangione likes obstacle to deficit cutting, a nation on entitlements. This is exactly the type of dude I need to reach out to pull them from the throes of weirdo politics, okay? This is why I do what I do. Do you understand? This man is posting Wall Street Journal articles about deficit cutting and the obstacles to deficit cutting and entitlements. But that's from 2010 when he was like, what, 12? I suspect that he's changed his mindset since then. He was 12 years old. What a goddamn nerd. Holy shit. No, he is not a fucking incel. This doesn't mean that he's an incel chatter. Luigi Mangione, hot damn, are you single? You make us engineers have hope, says Pen Crushes. May 1st, 2019. He says, despite all my best efforts, yup, still single. I don't think that is I don't think that that's indicative that he was an incel. Luigi fixed 300 UI bugs for Civilization 6, by the way. He was a UI programming intern at Firaxis Games. Civ 6 team fixed over 300 UI bugs, 25% of UI bug count using LUA language, Jira software, and Perforce version control system. Work with a 10-person Scrum team in agile environment. This is from his LinkedIn. This man just keeps getting better and better. He should be freed, I think. A real hero for all the Sid Meier Civilization heads out there. Remember who the true heroes of society are, okay? Remember that. What was the Malcolm X quote? Newspapers will have you thinking that your friends are your enemies. If you're not careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. You know? Just something to remember. Okay? We need a GoFundMe for his defense. Oh, dude, he will pop off. If Biden really wanted to get spicy, he would pardon this guy. Unfortunately, he is not. I don't think that the jurisdiction here is federal. I think that the jurisdiction here is going to be a New York State court. So there's nothing that Joe Biden can do. If he was boycotting McDonald's, he wouldn't have gotten caught. Remember this? Hey, okay, Sean. The real person who can save him is Kathy Hochul. And Kathy Hochul already, Lolo is representing him. This is not a drill. My trial director from Suffolk County. Let's do it, Luigi. 25 plus year experience between both of us. Luigi, want to defend this guy with me? Wait, for real? If Lolo is able to represent him, this would be the most amazing. This would be incredible. He could do it. He has the experience. He has it. He needs Jayoma. Jayoma does not represent people in New York. I will go in person. What a fucking timeline. I am so on board with Lol overruled. I'm so on board with my lawyer representing this man. This would be fantastic. Look at his lawyer, dog. This man is going to jail. Why have we had not one but two weird centrist assassins this year? Because that's just America. Okay? The very fact that his politics are all over the place is the most American thing. CNN reports that a 2-page document from Luigi Mangione was found, including the lines, which includes the lines, these parasites had it coming. I do apologize for any strife and trauma, but it had to be done. 56,000 likes from Pop Base. Okay? Now, all I'm going to say is this manifesto, if it comes out in its entirety, it will rip through. Okay? Also, it seems like he's apologetic, which is very important, especially at a time when no one really sees the need to apologize anymore. You know? I mean, that shows growth. That shows courage. That shows awareness. Release him. Your streams have prepared Lolo for this exact situation. He would literally have to defend a murder. I mean, Lolo could defend a murder, and I think he would do a great job at it. He's a young man in an online space dominated by right-wing views. As a result, it is expected that he would have gone down a libertarian right-wing path. However, despite probably doing everything he was told was necessary to make money, he continues to be poor and hurt by the rich. Yeah, this dude could have been an absolutely abysmal bootlicking groiper, but no matter who you are, getting an absolutely horrific back injury and being saddled with chronic pain and medical debt will make anyone develop class consciousness, even if he doesn't have class consciousness, which I don't think he has. I saw a tweet the other day that was like, Americans will celebrate the murder of a healthcare CEO and then turn around and call ICE when their Uber Eats driver is like 5 minutes late. Okay? Like, you don't have to be a fucking card-carrying commie or anything like that. You don't have to be a socialist. You don't even have to have any sort of class consciousness whatsoever. You still do recognize that, like, healthcare, for-profit healthcare, even if you don't have the proper terms to communicate this anger and resentment, you still recognize who's fucking you over in that situation because it's so deeply personal. And it's very obvious that he, like, still comes from, a relatively well-off family in Maryland, too. An immediate cousin that is a Republican politician. Anyway, Shooter was a big Andrew Huberman and Lex Friedman enjoyer. Yeah. Here is his rating on industrial society and its future. Now, if you know anything about Theodore John Kaczynski's formative work, you know that it is also indecipherable, with the exception of like a lot of fascist anti-communist sentiment jumping out of the paper. Okay? Just so you understand. It's not like... Ted Kaczynski was a prolific writer. It's mostly the ramblings of a madman A lot of people only hyper focus on the first couple of sentences and basically operate off of that and think that this guy had like brilliant thoughts. Ultimately, he was a rabid anti-communist, a CIA lab rat whose brain was fucking fried, and I guess had some semblance of environmentalism. But here's how Luigi Mangione rated the book. He gave it 4 stars. Okay? Not exactly a great read overall. So the fact that he gave it a 4 stars, immediate red flag. Let's take a look. It says, clearly written by a mathematics prodigy. Okay, that could be a diss. Saying this book was clearly written by a mathematics prodigy is like saying this man has a face for radio. Okay? Reads like a series of lemmas on the question of 21st century quality of life. It's easy to quickly and thoughtless write this off as the manifesto of a lunatic in order to avoid facing some of the uncomfortable problems it identifies. But it's simply impossible to ignore how prescient many of his predictions about modern society turned out. He was a violent individual, rightfully imprisoned, who maimed innocent people. While these actions tend to be characterized as those of a crazy Luddite, however, they are more accurately seen as those of an extreme political revolutionary. A take I found online that I think is interesting. Had the balls to recognize that peaceful protest has gotten us absolutely nowhere, and at the end of the day, he's probably right. Oil barons haven't listened to any environmentalists, but they feared him. When all other forms of communication fail, violence is necessary to survive. One thing I will say about Luigi Mangione is that unlike Theodore John Kaczynski, he actually did target someone who was a vector of pain, rather than random fucking, post-grads that got their shit blown off by his whimsical traps that he created, okay? Like, Ted Kaczynski was like, oh, I have this broad worldview, and what will I do to achieve my goals? I am going to blow the fingers off of Radio Shack employees. Like, when all other forms of communication fail, violence is necessary to survive. You may not like his methods, but to see things from his perspective, it's not terrorism, it's war and revolution. Fossil fuel companies actively suppress anything that stands in their way, and within a generation or two, it will begin costing human lives by greater and greater magnitudes until the Earth is just a flaming ball orbiting third from the sun. Peaceful protest is outright ignored. Economic protest is impossible in the current system, so how long until we recognize that violence against those who lead us to such destruction is justified as self-defense? These companies don't care about you or your kids or your grandkids. They have zero qualms about burning down the planet for a buck, so why should we have any qualms about burning them down to survive? We're animals just like everything else on this planet, except we've forgotten the law of the jungle and bent over for our overlords when any other animal would recognize the threat and fight to the death for their survival. Violence never solved anything is a statement uttered by cowards and predators. So this is not his quote. This is a quote that he found interesting about industrial society and its future. And he did say some of these things in his own manifesto as well, talking about these parasites had it coming, but it had to be done. The law of the jungle quote is so tech bro sapiens reader coded. Yeah, I do not believe that he actually posted that timed YouTube video, for the record. Hey, FYI, I'm getting an error message trying to share your stream on Facebook. Never had that happen before, and I share it all the time. I know a lot of people here don't use Facebook, so in case no one else has mentioned it, I thought that it was a little odd. Yeah, I'm also blacklisted from Instagram as well, so I don't know. It might be my my meta chickens coming home to roost because of all of the pro-Palestinian statements that I've made. Why our left is abandoning Luigi because of his politics? He's a hero. No, I am not saying any of that. I'm simply stating that
the place in America.
I don't care about his personal politics at all. I do think it's interesting to try. I do think it's interesting to try and decipher and try to understand his point of radicalization. Okay, but overall, it doesn't matter. I think it's the more interesting story is like his broad reception, his broad positive reception from the American public. You know, he definitely didn't post it. The profile pic is used the same in the media. It's a random photo from his Facebook. Definitely has something he would reuse as a profile pic. Yeah, I know. I do find it really funny. I will say that he follows the Lindy tradition. Whatever his name is. There's does anyone have that tweet? That famous Lindy tweet? If you're a young guy with no future prospects, go ahead, do something. And the Paul Scalas tweet, yeah, the Lindy man. Considering that Luigi Mangione actually followed him, yeah, I can't believe I'm typing this, but there's a non-zero chance that the CEO shooter did it because of a Paul Scalas tweet. Person of interest in fatal shooting, Brian Thompson ID'd is Luigi Mangione. Luigi Mangione's bookshelf, want to read, Life in the Lindy Effect by Paul Scalas. Here's the tweet. Look, if you don't have any kids and you're one of these guys just floating around the big cities, you got your education, but you never really used it to make money. You got a dead-end back office job, a future of just working somewhere until you're 75 and then dying. Go ahead and do something. And it seems that his high school yearbook quote was Donkey, video game Donkey. That's kind of cool. Yeah, another day, another play by Donkey. Oh my God. Mom and Dad, thanks for dealing with me the past 18 years. I cannot thank you enough for supporting me along the way. I'll admit, no matter how much. Oh, dude. Oh my God. Oh my God. Video game Donkey. At it again, folks. Big drama. It's Drama Monday. My enemy Donkey once again rears his head. Oh no. Entered in 6th grade, aka Pepperoni, GI, Squeege, 30 degrees, involved in robotics, Model UN, of course, Uproar Studios, Writing Center, Senior Retreat, Community Service at Lorien Health. My Gilman experience was illuminating. Another day, another play. Mom and Dad, thanks for dealing with me the past 18 years. I cannot thank you enough for supporting me along the way. I'll admit, no matter how much I hated at the time, your sending me to Gilman was the best thing that's ever happened to me. Love you, Tommy. Thank you for showing me how to push my limits. I wouldn't be the person I am today without you. Baz says, I've enjoyed our many long talks and hope to continue them for years to come. Dan, these last 3 years from a presidential speech to your yearbook announcements to your daily assembly commentary, you turned a once unbearable assembly into the funniest part of the day. To the rest of my friends, you know who you are. These last few years have been simply amazing. Mr. Hastings says, thank you for always having faith in me, even when I didn't. I truly could not have asked for a better advisor. Special thanks, Dr. Salcedo, Dr. Kelly, Mr. Algren, Dr. Kraft, Dr. Mo, Dr. Fitzgibbon, Memories, MS Recess Soccer, Daddy Long, Flies, Tie Wars, CT, blah, 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 blah. Okay. No, I did not watch his fucking YouTube, man. I don't think it's real. I don't think it's him. I don't understand how people are so quick to be duped and immediately want to believe that he like actually fucking put forth a timed YouTube video that is going to announce, like, it could be him, but like, you do not have any information at this point. You do not have any information at this point that YouTube video is like real, okay? That it's actually him that timed a release for a YouTube page, especially because like the YouTube page PFP is just like him holding McDonald's. We know that, you know, his Twitter, we know his Goodreads, like those are confirmed. It's fake and the PFP changed. Yeah. This is fake. The account has since changed the profile picture. Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be like a fucking crypto announcement or something, dude. Bro, I feel so sad at this news. What are the chances the police got it wrong? There's always a chance that the police got it wrong. Luigi Mangione had the deny defend to post Logan in his bio on his TikTok. His account has been deleted, presumably by TikTok. This is what happens when even STEM milquetoast valedictorians have no upwards mobility fresh out of college. I feel like that was really mean of Chad to call me milquetoast. I'm concernedly close to this demo. This community, that's like the majority of the community is very close to that demographic. That is how you arrived at most likely leftist politics. The fuck do you mean? Many of you are people that went to and got a decent college education and recognize how shit the job market is and that you will never be able to retire. Here are some choice tweets from this man. This is why Jordan Peterson always bothers me. Overcomplicates everything he says aloud, wasting everyone's mental bandwidth and having to decipher it. The best teachers are the best communicators. Clear, succinct, simple language. I should have added some context with this clip. I wasn't trying to contradict you, but rather bolster your point. Tucker is spot on in recognizing that modern architecture kills the spirit, but his very first line, postmodern architecture is designed to demoralize and hurt you, paints the phenomenon as intentional. In the same way that inflation is not intelligently designed to oppress people, neither is modern architecture. It's emergent. Yes, it is oppressive, but that's a fallout of selective pressures to build fast, cheap, irrespective of aesthetics. My point here is that even when people have brilliant insights, they often blatantly get the causation wrong. Modern equivalent of this, drought, famine, was caused by the rain gods. because they're already the obvious thing that many social media many social media companies do in a situation like this is just like to yeet these accounts so you can't get a better understanding of where this person is coming from or what their background is, because people are afraid of like copycats and stuff. You know, I would like to figure out his background. He founded a game dev club at UPenn, which UPenn apparently took down. Student club highlights interdisciplinary art of making video games. Undergraduate students Luigi Mangione and Josh Nadel led a group of 60 students who gather and collaborate weekly to develop video games at Huntsman Hall. As a high school student, Luigi Mangione's interest in video games didn't stop at playing them. He wanted to create them. Why does it matter what his political leanings were when he got radicalized? Is it really that useful? I'm more interested in what led to his radicalization, not shit he was liking when he was 12 years old. Wait, what are you talking about? That is my point. I think it creates a larger picture. There is definitely pure fascination. There is pure fascination as well. There is a bit of spectacle. Okay, but outside of that, it's I'm just trying to create a clearer picture. But yeah, his entire Goodreads list, and some of these I assume read, some of these he did not or wanted to read, right? 7 Habits of the Highly Effective People, on immunity and inoculation. Should we eat meat? Evolution and its consequences. How to lie with statistics. Oh my God. That one is a classic. What if? Serious scientific answers to absurd hypotheticals. The greatest show on earth. The evidence for evolution. The magic and reality. How we know what's really true. Richard Dawkins. Like, he had a bunch of Charles Darwin, The Origin of Species. It seemed like on his want to read list, he had a litany of different, like, there was a Mein Kampf, Adolf Hitler want to read. Oh God. Why the fuck would you put that on your Goodreads? That's crazy. His most centrist brain dead lived up take. Current era is a mass extinction event for normies. Tradition existed for the average person's psychic protection, and without it, they'll reliably go crazy. In 500 years, humanity will be a much more extreme species with the middle of the bell curve completely eradicated. Have you seen the movie Idiocracy? It predicts the opposite of what you suggest. The overall dumbing down of humanity with the entire bell curve shifting left due to reproductive dynamics. It's obviously satire, but I've always worried that that's the direction we're heading. Wait, what? Oh, he's talking about the bell curve shifting left. Here's one of his tweets from earlier this year. What are your thoughts on this quote from J. Krishnamurti? It is no measure of good health to be well-adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Yeah, I mean, it is one of my choice. Takes as well. Those who feel strong aversion to adjusting to a maladjusted society are normally deemed mentally ill, alcoholics, substance abusers, or slackers. They're corralled into 12-step groups or mental hospitals or placed on medication or even when shunned. All in an attempt to make them conform and fit in, when what really needs to change is society itself. Just as gun legislation will not end the senseless mass shootings, because what we really need to do is stop generating psychopaths as a culture. I deduce he was a Jordan Peterson listener from his book list. No, he doesn't like Jordan Peterson. But yeah, he had I feel like this guy really fucked with Foucault. No, he did not. He is not. You guys, listen. I can't stress this enough, okay? This is a STEM guy whose introduction into, like, his introduction to the humanities is, many of you in this community are very similar in profile to this person. Okay? A lot of you are comp sci and other, like, a variety of different STEM majors. Okay? But unlike him, yeah, most leftists don't like Foucault. We're not talking about Foucault anyway. Unlike him, many of you, instead of going the regular, like, Andrew Huberman, Lex Friedman, enlightened centrist, Jordan Peterson is a brilliant humanities professor route, or maybe you did actually go down that route at a certain point, came here because you realized, like, maybe these guys were not actually presenting reality in a way that is true. Maybe they were, not exactly well equipped. Okay? Tim Urban, the guy he wanted to be taught in school, is a huge anti-woke guy. Exactly. And it's ironic because Tim Urban has been fucking crying about this guy killing a CEO nonstop. So many of you went on your own intellectual journey and then arrived here. Many of you went on your own intellectual journey, but it seems to me like he is more so like possible r/atheism, Richard Dawkins appreciator, guy who thinks Sam Altman is brilliant. Sam Altman is OpenAI, for those of you who don't know. Guy who thinks Peter Thiel is brilliant. Like, he retweeted Peter Thiel. Like, this is a person who went on his own intellectual journey, and just like many who succumb to the unlimited amount of extreme centrist, maybe center-right content out there, he found himself in the whims of these kinds of content creators. None of that actually played a role in his actions, though. None of that played even a little bit of a formative role in the actions that he took. It seems to me like, regardless of his political ideology or the way he presented himself online, this was a very direct, you can present a very direct through line from what happened in his past and the actions that he took. Like, here, he is responding to Tim Urban. My book, What's Our Problem, is now available. The book introduced a new framework for thinking about our chaotic political environment. This is from February 21st, 2023. He responded to this a year later. Do you think one day this could be taught in school curricula? What would that take? Now, I find this very interesting because Tim Urban is also consistently been chirping about how ridiculous and violent this action was. We live amongst a good number of people who are no different than those who ordered thousands of beheadings during the French Revolution. They just don't currently have the power to do what they want. Tim Urban here, quote retweeting Taylor Lorenz, and people wonder why we want these executives dead. That is the irony here, is that his actions, the irony here is that while he was directly like a Tim Urban head, right? Many of those people that he actually took notes from, the anti-woke people, like all these like Lex Friedman types, they by design play a formative role in shifting your attention away from the real vectors of pain in contemporary American society. They play a very big role in trying to deflect that attention away unconditionally every step of the way, to make you say, no, it is not the rich. It is not those who are at the head of these corporations that design society in a way where I am experiencing so many pressures in the wealthiest nation on earth. Pressures like, healthcare, an industry that should not be for profit, and yet it is. It is actually your fellow man that is causing your suffering. You should be angry not at those who are in positions of power, but you should be you should not be angry at the systems that bind us, but instead you should be angry at those who are fucking annoying, or those who advocate for their own, for their own existence, those who want civil liberties, those who want equality. You should be angry at those people who have no power. Get mad at undocumented immigrants. Get mad at trans people. Get mad at those who advocate for trans people and undocumented immigrants. Not the CEOs. Not the corporate oligopoly that exists. And yet, it is obvious that in spite of all of that, chaos and the deliberate attempts to shift your priorities away, to shift your attention away from those who actually cause harm, especially when it comes to an issue that touches every single American in a meaningful way, okay? People go, nah, I know what happened here. And that's precisely what's going on with the story of Luigi Mangione, a person who, regardless of his like podcast consumption and books that he's read, a person who has consistently, routinely quote retweeted Tim Urban, a person who Tim Urban very clearly hates the actions that Luigi Mangione took. No matter what, he still went through an experience that was formative, that was radicalizing, and that caused him to get mad, a CEO in the for-profit healthcare system. Okay? Bro was crying at McDonald's watching Tim Urban shit all over him. Yeah, he was logging onto his Twitter account being like, another Tim Urban tweet has hit the timeline. Fuck, he hates me. All my icons, all my idols hate me. He's going to be really sad when he finds out all these people that he has hyped up despise him for the action that he took. I believe this book will go down in history as the most important philosophical text of the early 21st century. My belief is that he's a strict Darwinist who understands the physical and social homology between man and animals, that humans aren't uniquely distinct from all other species like that major religions suggest. He believes that modern society transgresses against our natural inclinations / needs as animals ourselves, and that led to the destruction of our way of living and purpose, closest to Kaczynski. I don't know if he has a well-defined framework like the way you're suggesting. I don't. I think he's a guy who... much like many others in that same age group, had the exact same societal pressures, and the exact same fears and the exact same vulnerabilities. And there's like one philosophic work on his Goodreads. I doubt he's actually read anything himself. Wiki pages, maybe. Yeah, I think I don't think that he was like he had like this well-defined framework. Or well-defined worldview. I think he was trying to find himself, just like many others do in the same age range, experiencing the societal pressures of venturing into the adult world, losing his coverage on his healthcare, and obviously going through this traumatic experience where he had to get healthcare, most likely had his claims denied, or went through this process that personally radicalized him. And the actions that he took had nothing to do with like all the Tim Urban books that he's read. You know what's really cute? Because this guy's profile pretty closely matches chats, everyone is just projecting their ideological engines onto this guy. Yeah. Reminds me of Ryan Ruth, the Trump golf course guy who clearly had contradictory views in politics. A man who wants to be freed from something that is so frustrating, but has no clue what that thing really is. Capitalism. They end up with weird, muddied anti-politics. There's millions like that, and they don't really know what they are or what they believe in, but come very close. Exactly. Intelligent with another banger. Yeah, this was the best take I've seen on this ideology as well. I do not care if Luigi Mangione, assuming this is really the guy, shares my personal ideological outlook. His alleged actions were propelled by the material conditions of capitalism and can be used to advance class consciousness or struggle. God damn, dude. Holy shit.